Yes, honey, are you there? Can you able to hear me? Ah, okay. Can you able to hear me now? So we did the chapter nutrition in plants, correct? So we can discuss some questions. We already discussed some, but now we can discuss some other questions also. Okay. So here question is that state whether true or false, and if false, correct the statement by changing the underlined word. Okay. So here first question is given. I'm just reading the question, listen carefully. Animals are only organisms that can prepare their own food while using simple substances from their surrounding. Okay, and underline is there on the animals. Okay, underline is given below the animals. Animals are only organisms that can prepare their own food using simple substances from their surrounding. Okay, so animals are what? Heterotrophs. They are not autotrophs. So here plants are autotrophs and they can make their own food. So underline is given in the animal. So this statement is false. Here plants should come. So plants are autotrophs and they can prepare their own food by using the material which is present in the surrounding. Okay, getting this, honey? Honey, are you there? Okay. Now, understood the question? The intake of food by an organism is called nutrition. See, the intake of food by the organism is called as a nutrition, and underline is given on the below the nutrition. Yes, it's a true statement. Yes, body intake the food to get the nutrition. Correct. That is correct. Yes. And then now next question is that stomata absorb the sunlight for a photosynthesis. So this is false statement because stomatas are nothing but what? A small tiny pores which are present below the surface of the leaves, correct? And that are useful for the exchange of gases as well as water is gets evaporated from the stomata. It is actually not used for photosynthesis. Okay, so the given statement is a false. So who will absorb the sunlight? Chlorophyll. Okay, is absorb the sunlight. Yes, सूरज मी बरी आहे, तू काय म्हणतोस? Okay, chalo. Now, next question is that insectivorous plants are autotrophic. Okay, so insectivorous plants are autotrophic, which is not a correct statement. This is a false statement. Why? Because insectivorous plants are nothing but what? Heterotrophic, no? Because they are not able to make their food, so they depends on someone to make for the food. So that's what insectivorous plants are autotroph, not a sorry, they are heterotrophs, not autotrophs. Getting this? So in under what statement or what word they are underlining, just think on that and write the answer. Now here one more question is given. Starch on reacting with iodine solution turns brown in color. Okay, so we done this in class 5th standard. So whenever starch will comes in contact with the iodine solution, then starch is converted into what? Blue and black solution. Oh, blue and black in color. Okay, so these are the some questions I covered, and now here they are asking to define some terms. So you have lots of questions in that, so I will now explain nutrition. First definition, they are asking nutrition. So nutrition is nothing but what? Any living organism receives the food or they digest the food to get the nutrients which are insoluble, and simple form is called as what? Nutrition. Okay, understood this? So every living organisms consumes the food. Okay, every living organisms consume the food, and that food whenever digested inside the body, then that digested food gives the nutrition to the body. Okay, and that nutrients are what? Insoluble and simple form, that is known as nutrition. Okay, then can you want to write, honey? You can write down nutrition definition. First give the heading nutrition, write down the heading nutrition and write down its definition. The process by which an organism receives and digests food digests a food to get the nutrients to get the nutrient which are insoluble and simple form. Simple form is called nutrition. Understood? Okay, wrote entire definition. Now write down next heading, autotrophs. AUTOTROPHS, autotrophs. Okay, so autotrophs are nothing but what? Autotrophs are the organisms autotrophs are the organism. They can make their own food by the process of photosynthesis or the material which are present around them. Okay, so that is nothing but what? Autotrophs. And they use what? Carbon dioxide, water, and then sunlight, and they have a chlorophyll in them, so they can trap the sunlight. Okay, so this everything will takes place on the leaves, because leaves are what? Green in color. So this food is also what? Stored in the leaf. Getting this? Autotrophs. So understood autotroph definition. So write down the definition for autotroph. The organism which can build their own food with the help of molecules like carbon dioxide gas and water from their surrounding with the assistance of sunlight and chlorophyll are called autotrophs. Okay, understood autotroph definition. Now define the photosynthesis. Next definition is photosynthesis. So everyone know photosynthesis, we learn from the childhood. So plants are absorbing carbon dioxide, water, sunlight, everything, and they can prepare the food, okay, and as well as releases the oxygen from the leaves. So this process is called as a synthesis. So here sunlight is what get trapped by the chlorophylls which are present on the leaf, and that sunlight and surrounding carbon dioxide, water, they are what get synthesized with the help of the sunlight, and that gives the food as well as carbon as well as it gives the oxygen. Okay, this process of breaking down of all the molecules is nothing but what? Photosynthesis. Understood this? So write down the definition. The process by which the process by which the process by which organisms use sunlight to synthesize nutrients, to synthesize the nutrients from carbon dioxide and water, from carbon dioxide and water, to create their own food, to create their own food is called photosynthesis, is called photosynthesis. Full stop. We can write some little more information about this. In plants, photosynthesis generally involves the green pigment, called chlorophyll, and generates oxygen as a secondary product, and generate oxygen as a secondary product. Full stop. Next, host. Okay, next definition is host. So normally what do you mean by host? It's a very important question. So here those plants are getting nutrients, okay, or shelter from some other plants, okay. So that other organisms are called as what? Host. Okay, means suppose I have banyan tree, and on that kaskuta is growing. So here who is the host? Host is here the banyan tree, because kaskuta is taking all the nutrients from the banyan tree, okay, and here host suppose the shelter, food, nourishment, everything, okay. So here kaskuta is nothing but what? Guest, or we can say that it is a parasite, and hence host is negatively affected by the relationship. Understood? This is very important. So who is the host? Host is the amarbel or kaskuta. Those who are growing on some other plants, they are taking a nutrients from other plants and they will grow. Then you will ask, ma'am, kaskuta leaves are green, then they can make their own food. But actually, their leaves are green, but they are not able to make their own food. That means they cannot perform the process of photosynthesis. So they need a nutrition. They need to survive. Okay, so to survive they need a nutrients, and they are what? Started growing on other organism, and that other organisms are providing what? The food, nutrition and shelter, everything. So here that other tree is known as host and Amarbel is what here? Guest. Understood the definition of host? Can you getting? Honey? Okay, chalo. So write down the host definition here. An organism that provides the nourishment, an organisms or organism that provides, write down the organism that provides, the organism that provides nourishment, nourishment and or shelter, nourishment and or shelter and some other organisms, and some other organisms is called host, is called host, is called host, is called host, full stop. The host supports, the host supports and provides the nourishment, the host supports and provide the nourishment, provide the nourishment for the parasite, for the parasite or guest, for the parasite or guest, and hence the host is negatively affected, and hence the host is negatively affected, and hence the host is negatively affected by this relationship, by this relationship. Getting this? Full stop. Next definition, parasite. Now write down next heading, define parasite. Okay, so parasites are nothing but what? Some organisms, they will grow on the host body. Why they will grow on the host body? Just now I explained the host, because they want to survive and they want nutrients also for their growth. So as they are not able to make their own food, so they need a shelter also. So they are growing on the host body to get the nutrient and to get the shelter. Okay, so they cannot survive without the host body. Getting this? So write down, an organism that lives, the organism that lives inside or on an organism or on an organism of another species, that is host, and which relies on the host, for all the nutrients, is called parasite, full stop. The parasite is not able to survive, without the host body, Getting this? Understood? So these are the important definitions from this chapter. So don't by heart, but try to memorize and try to understand this definition. Okay, these definitions are very, very important. Now write down question which is for 3 marks. Write down what are the stomata. What are stomata? STOMATA. Stomata. Explain their functions. Okay, explain their function. So I will discuss the answer, but you can write down the answer afterwards. Everyone can write down what are the stomatas, explain their function. So stomatas are nothing but what? Small or tiny pores which are present on the underside of the leaf. Okay, and surrounded by the guard cells are called as what? Stomata. Okay, so stomatas are used basically only for two function. One is for transpiration process and another is for diffusion process. So what do you mean by diffusion here? Here exchange of gases takes place. Okay, so that exchange of gases is nothing but diffusion, and whenever there is what? A loss of water will takes place from the leaf, that process is called as what? Transpiration. Okay, so that is known as what? Transpiration. So first what I am discussing, that you can learn, then afterwards we can check. So here, what are the stomatas? Stomatas are nothing but what? Small tiny pores which are present below the surface of the leaf, and they are containing what? Guard cells. And then here stomatas are basically performing two main functions. One is what? They are used for transpiration. If suppose there is excess water is there, then that excess water is what? Get removed out. So this process is called as a transpiration. And whenever they are exchanging the gases to the external environment, that process is called as what? Diffusion. Okay, these are the two functions of the stomata. Understood up to here? Then you can write your answer in your own word. I discussed in detail. So now next question. Write down the next question. How is sunlight used by the plant for photosynthesis? How is sunlight used by the plant for photosynthesis? How is the sunlight used by the plant for photosynthesis? Okay. So now how to write this answer? The leaf contains the green pigments. Okay. Leaf contains the green pigments in them, and these green pigments contain what? The chlorophyll. And chlorophylls are having an ability to trap the sunlight, because for photosynthesis they require sunlight, they require carbon dioxide, they require the water and other nutrients. Okay, so if there is a photosynthesis process is there, then that means definitely carbon dioxide, sunlight, water and other nutrients are required to synthesize the light. Okay, so here it chlorophyll traps the sunlight and it can processes the food into it, or the sunlight converts water, carbon dioxide into what? Sugar is called as what? Glucose. Okay, and glucose is used by the plants and generating energy and make other essential substances like a cellulose and starch. Getting this? So photosynthesis will occur, then they can store the food in the different parts of the plant, and they can convert the carbon dioxide, water and photo into the sugars. Okay, that sugar is called as the glucose, and laterwards this energy is essential for different substances, and they can convert it into what? Cellulose or starch. Getting this? Understood? So can we move for the next question? Okay, so write down next. Why are some plants insectivorous? Why are some plants are insectivorous? Give the examples. So why are some plants insectivorous? Give the example. Many times students are writing insectivorous because they consume insects. But why they are consuming, they are asking. Okay, so normally insectivorous plants require the nitrogen. Okay, so they require the nutrient like a nitrogen in addition to carbohydrates for survival. They require what? Nitrogen as well as carbohydrates for the survival, and as they have lack of nitrogen in them, so what will happen then? So any insects which are sitting near to their mouth, then they are what? Trapping them. And then what they will do? They will take that insects in, so they can fulfill their nitrogen requirement. Okay, just by digesting the insects in order to absorb the necessary nitrogen. So for example, we have Venus flytrap. Okay, then pitcher plant is there, Drosera is also there. So these are all insectivorous plants because they consume the insects, and after digestion they will get what? Nitrogen, because these plants don't have a nitrogen, or they are not able to produce by default nitrogen. So to get a nutrient like nitrogen and hydrocarbons, they are what? Trapping the insects and they are digesting to form the nitrogen in them. Okay, so pitcher plant, Venus flytrap, Drosera are the examples of the insectivorous plants. Can you getting this? Understood up to here? Now write down next question. What is symbiosis? What is the symbiosis? Question mark. Explain with the help of example. Explain with the help of example. Okay, then everyone wrote here what is a symbiosis and explain with the help of example. So symbiosis is a relationship that exists between two organisms in close physical association with mutually beneficial for both. Means one can able to give a nutrient and water, then other can prepare a food and it can provide to the entire body. Okay, there is a mutual understanding is there in between the two different parts, is called as what? The symbiosis. Okay, so they are asking explain with the example. Okay, in this relationship both organisms are equally benefited, and no organism is affected by this relationship. Okay, they both are getting benefited, but no one is affected. Means that does not mean one is getting all the nutrients and other is not getting anything. No, here both are getting everything. Interactions last for long term with survival of both the species. Okay, for example, we have lichen, myocorrhea. These are the examples of what? Symbiosis. Okay, this symbiosis will take place. Understood? Okay, so here symbiosis you can take the manure is an example. See, we are making the organic manure or compost we are preparing. How the compost is preparing? We have the dry leaves, then leftover food, vegetable stalks, then fruit peels. We all are dumping into dumping into the pit, and then we are keeping the layer of soil and some other soil, and we are keeping a water on that. We are sprinkling the water. After few days that is gets converted into manure, and that manure is what? Nitrogen rich. Even the worms are also generated, and that creates the aeration in them. Then whenever we are giving a manure, this manure to the crops, then they are what, their soil is what gets replenished, and as well as the soil fertility is also increases. Okay, so here the nutrients, the nutrients which are present in the organic manure, this supports the plant to grow and to make their food. So here both are benefited. So this is known as what, the this is known as the symbiosis relation. Can you getting this? Just wait. Okay, so here next question is that you can write down the next question. How are the nutrients, how are the nutrients replenished in the soil naturally, and how can the nutrients be replenished artificially? Okay, so how can nutrients be replenished artificially? Artificially means we are providing externally. Okay, so any plant requires the adequate amount of nitrogen, and that nitrogen is provided with the help of, by adding fertilizers and manure. This is the artificially replenished. Okay, means this is the artificial way of replenishing the soil. But what is a natural replenishment? Okay, so plant receives the nutrient from the soil, which leads to depletion of the nutrients in the soil. Okay, sometimes, means not sometimes, plants are unable to use the nitrogen which is present adequately in the atmosphere. Okay, that gas is gets converted. That conversion should have to be takes place. Okay, some bacteria are there, they are converting this nitrogen into the what, atmospheric soluble nitrogen into that, atmospheric nitrogen is get converted, and that converted nitrogen should what, fixed at the roots of the leguminous plants. Okay, so this is nothing but what, natural symbiosis or natural way of replenishing the soil. Okay, and artificially we are providing the manure as well as fertilizers. Understood this? Understood up to here? They are asking here one more question. How do, write down, how do plants obtain the nutrients? How do plants obtain the nutrients other than carbohydrates? Okay, so here I'll read out one more time. How do plants obtain nutrients other than the carbohydrates? Carbohydrates means carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, apart from this, plants required what? The nitrogen. Then atmospheric nitrogen is get converted, and they are what? Get fixed at the roots of the leguminous plants. So some bacteria are there, that bacteria are converting this atmospheric nitrogen. Okay, and so that nitrogen is what gets fixed at the roots of the leguminous plants. Okay, so here they are getting what? The nitrogen here. Then sometimes what will happen, there is a photosynthesis takes place, and it forms what? The glucose. Okay, sugars are also generated, and extra food is stored in the form of starch. So these are nutrients they are getting, and by adding manure and fertilizers also they are getting potassium, then phosphorus, calcium, NPK. These all nutrients they are getting artificially from the manures and fertilizers. Getting this? Now, just wait. I will ask some MCQ question. You have to type your answers. Be ready. I will ask some MCQ question. You get ready. So here the components essential for a body is called as what? The components essential for our body is called as what? Nutrient. Okay, next we obtain the nutrients from, we are getting nutrient from what? Type your answer. We are getting a nutrient from food. Okay, then carbohydrates and fats are important nutrients. Carbohydrates, protein and fats are the important nutrients. Then next one, uh, can make their own food for the simple from a simple nutrient. So plants are able to make their own food, okay, by using some simple nutrients which are present around the surrounding. Then all animals are directly or indirectly on the plants for a food. Depend. Okay, so we means animals and some animals, not some animals, all the animals are depend for a food on the plants, because plants are what? Autotrophs. Getting up to here? Understood? Okay, so these many questions I want to discuss. So I discussed all the questions over here. Some important question, not all, some important. Okay, so thank you for joining. So I will end this session. Okay.